The first punch didn't come from a fist. It came from laughter, sharp and cruel, echoing across the gas station as oil-stained boots circled a tired man in a faded jacket, his young daughter gripping his sleeve with trembling fingers. He was a single dad, a veteran who had survived war zones and loss, yet here he stood, humiliated in front of strangers, bullied by bikers who mistook his silence for weakness. They didn't know that beneath his calm eyes lived memories of fire, discipline, and brothers who never came home. And they had no idea that in a few minutes, one quiet phone call would change everything. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us humanity still matters, please take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel name. Your support helps stories like this reach the hearts that need them most. His name was Daniel Hart, and life had already taken more from him than it ever gave back. Years ago, he wore a uniform with pride, serving his country with the kind of devotion that asked for nothing in return. But war is never kind to those who survive it. When Daniel came home, he came home broken in ways no metal could fix. His wife passed away unexpectedly 2 years later, leaving him alone with their 6-year-old daughter, Lily, whose world revolved around her father's tired smile and gentle hands. Daniel worked long hours as a night security guard, barely making enough to keep food on the table and a roof over their heads, but every sacrifice felt worth it when Lily laughed. That afternoon, Daniel had stopped at the gas station after a long shift, his eyes heavy with exhaustion. Lily sat beside him, humming softly, unaware of how fragile their peace was. That was when the bikers arrived, engines roaring like beasts, leather jackets covered in patches that screamed dominance. They noticed Daniel's old military jacket, the worn boots, the way he avoided eye contact. To them, he looked like an easy target. What started as mocking comments turned into deliberate intimidation, their presence closing in, their laughter growing louder. Daniel tried to shield Lily, positioning his body between her and the men, his heart pounding not from fear for himself, but from fear for her. He remembered the promise he made at his wife's grave, that Lily would never feel unsafe as long as he breathed. Yet here he was, powerless in a moment that mattered most. He could fight, yes. His body remembered how. But he also knew that one wrong move could escalate things beyond control, putting Lily in danger. So he endured the insults, the shoves, the stares of bystanders who chose silence over intervention. The bikers mistook his restraint for surrender. As the tension thickened, one of them crossed a line, knocking Daniel's coffee to the ground and stepping closer to Lily. Something shifted inside Daniel then, not rage, but resolve. He slowly reached into his pocket, ignoring the taunts, ignoring the laughter. The bikers smirked, expecting a plea or perhaps a call to the police they believed would never come in time. But Daniel's hands were steady as he dialed a number he hadn't used in years, a number tied to a past he rarely spoke of. This phone call wasn't to a friend or family member. It was to a brotherhood forged in dust and fire, to men who understood loyalty as sacred and silence as strength. Years ago, Daniel had saved lives during an ambush, pulling wounded soldiers to safety under relentless fire. Those men never forgot. The call was brief, quiet, and deliberate. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't explain much. He didn't need to. The words were enough. Minutes passed, stretching like hours. The bikers continued their performance, feeding off their perceived power. Lily clung tighter, her small fingers digging into Daniel's jacket. He whispered calm reassurance, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. And then, in the distance, the sound of approaching engines began to change the atmosphere. These engines didn't roar with arrogance. They moved with purpose. One by one, vehicles arrived, unmarked, disciplined, controlled. Men stepped out, not in leather vests flaunting intimidation, but in plain clothes, eyes sharp, posture firm. Their presence alone shifted the balance. They didn't threaten. They didn't shout. They simply stood there, forming an invisible wall around Daniel and Lily. The bikers sensed it immediately, the sudden realization that they had misjudged the man they cornered. These newcomers weren't there for a fight. They were there out of respect. Out of debt. Out of brotherhood. The bikers' laughter faded, replaced by nervous glances and uneasy silence. Without a single blow thrown, the power dynamic collapsed. The bullies backed away, engines starting again, their dominance reduced to embarrassment. They left as quickly as they came, the gas station returning to its dull, ordinary hum. Daniel didn't celebrate. He didn't smile. He simply knelt down and hugged Lily, holding her as if the world had almost swallowed them whole. Tears he had held back for years finally escaped, not from weakness, but from release. The men who came for him nodded quietly, understanding that this moment wasn't about them. They left just as silently, disappearing back into their own lives, leaving behind safety and dignity. In the days that followed, word spread. Not as a legend of violence, but as a reminder that humility should never be mistaken for weakness. Daniel's life didn't magically become easy. Bills still came. Work was still exhausting. Painful memories still visited him at night. But something inside him changed. He stood a little taller. Lily slept a little easier. And the world, for once, felt slightly less cruel. Daniel began volunteering at a local veteran center, helping others navigate the same invisible battles he fought every day. He taught Lily that strength wasn't about intimidation, but about knowing when to stand firm and when to seek help. Their bond grew stronger, forged not just by survival, but by trust. As time passed, Daniel realized that the shocking phone call wasn't about calling for backup. It was about remembering he wasn't alone. That even in a world quick to judge and bully, there are still people who remember kindness, loyalty, and sacrifice. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of someone you love or a moment when you wished someone had stood up for you, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe to channel name. Your engagement helps keep these meaningful stories alive. And before this story ends, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you know. Because sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do isn't to fight back, but to quietly remind the world that dignity, love, and brotherhood still exist, and that even the strongest heroes sometimes just need to make one call to come home.